I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting. We're getting better and better every week.
That might be
Greg
my favorite
Powers,
part of the
Next Level
week.
Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express. Pickle was kind of sad last week, and so she got Chicken Express. And then what happened, Pickle?
It warmed me up from the inside out.
Guys,
I love it.
It is. It's a little yellow box of happiness.
Oh, it slapped.
That's
It was
really
so good.
Yeah, you were in a foul mood, and you came to me and you're like, I'm gonna go get Chicken Express for dinner, and I'm like, you know what? That seems like a good mental health decision.
I did.
You know.
Yeah, I
By
was
the way,
down. I
Riley
needed
Dodge
something.
has texted to say, put some respect on my name.
There you go.
So,
I tried, Coach.
Yeah. Pickles, dude, I'm just sandbagging you. So this week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. We'll start with our prospect on the rise. This shows. Imagine parachuting into the show for the first time.
Yeah, welcome.
What a psychopathic show this is. Our prospect on the rise is 2022 running back Andrew Paul out of Parish Episcopal in the Dallas area. He has picked up a trio of big new offers: Houston, Auburn, Michigan State. He also has offers from Cal, Colorado, and Mizzou. This is a guy at the private school ranks who has helped turn Parrish into one of the most feared offenses in the state. Powers and his nearly 1,700 yards and 28 touchdowns are just the tip of the iceberg for a kid who's pretty darn special.
Well, we thought that there might be some fall off after they lost their, Preston Stone, who was a 4-year Mr. Everything at Parish Episcopal. But they've only had one setback on the field this year. They had an early season loss to Austin LBJ, who has a pretty talented team.
I'd say
they're pretty good.
That loss has aged pretty well.
Yeah, so that one's aged pretty well. And Paul is the guy that's kind of taken over that team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. At 5'11", 220 pounds, he has enough burst to be considered a dangerous home run threat, but has the skill and size to completely run over the top of anybody who gets in his path. And you can start to see like the offers that are coming in for him. First, Missouri a couple weeks ago kind of got the ball rolling on his end of the season offer run, and you think, I think sometimes as Missouri is a hard hitting type of team. Even back in the Big 12 days, I never considered Missouri as up tempo. I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, they had a minute there, with the Chase Daniel teams, they tried to go tempo, but in a lot of ways, that was the exception as opposed to the rule. Generally speaking, especially under Gary Pinkel, they were more like, we're going to huddle up, we're going to come at. Even when they had dynamic playmakers like Brad Smith, they didn't go no huddle. Anyway, that's Mizzou historian Greg Tepper for you. Go on.
And now Michigan State jumping on board. You know what they are in the Big Ten. They're a team that likes to line up and punch you in the mouth. But he also has offers from Colorado, Cal, Auburn, and Houston at the Power 5 level, so you kind of talk to his versatility that he could probably really fit into any offense, and now he has to make the decision. What does he want to do in college? Well, he's got 6 Power 5 conference options, and we'll see who wins out.
Yeah, he may, in fact, get some more down the road. Let's get to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week, let's go to Fort Bend Marshall, talk about their wide receiver, Chris Marshall. It's easy to remember.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Marshall from Fort Bend Marshall. He has pulled the trigger. He is committed to Hullabaloo Connect, the Texas A&M Aggies, over. He had offers from most notably Alabama and USC. He's number 21 in the DCTF Hot 100. You think he might end up being the best receiver in the class?
Could be. I mean, he definitely could be. And why I say that, or what I like about his upside is that he doesn't have a whole lot of on-the-field experience. Last year was his first year playing football, and I think he was the district newcomer of the year last year, or the offensive he won some great accolade for all the stats he put up, and then he came back his senior season and he's even better because he has more experience. I was trying to think of like a comparison, actually. I went on my way in today. I was like, who is a good comparison for Chris Marshall? And actually kind of reminds me of Devontae Adams, like a high school version of Devontae Adams, because he has, that 6'3", 195-pound frame, and he can go over the top and make plays over defenders, but he can run really well after the catch, and I think that's what makes Adams pretty special.
I'm going to use a word, and I mean it in a respectful way. I don't mean it disrespectfully. Would you call him a project?
I don't know. I was thinking you don't even sometimes use the word raw. I have a history lesson on that. I wrote in one of the capsules for DCTF Rising magazine one time that Donovan Jackson was raw.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Did you hear about it?
I heard about that, and he came to a lot of events to prove to me that he was not raw, that he was refined.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that he took that as a chip on his shoulder and wanted to prove that I was wrong with our descriptive explanation of his game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was probably justifiable in that. I don't even know if raw is the right word. Let's just say that his upside is real.
So he's just maybe just inexperienced. Maybe let's not get too cute. Like he's just inexperienced, and with experience, he's already pretty good. He could end up being
The ceiling is high.
special.
Yeah, the ceiling is very high with him, and I think that he does have a chance. By the time the dust settles, you got guys in this class like Evan Stewart and Caleb Burton, but by the time the dust settles, he could be the Mike Evans type that kind of, gets called early on in the NFL draft.
That is certainly saying something. Well, we're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Let's maneuver over to our Underclassman of the Week. Our Underclassman of the Week, we're talking about Arlington Seguin junior safety Jamel Johnson. He has
committed to Texas.
He has committed this week. He is as a junior. He is committed to the University of Texas. Had a couple of other offers out there, but he has pulled the trigger to go to Steve Sarkisian's Longhorns. Here's a guy who, versatility is probably the name of his game. He's got a few different ways that he can beat you. You like him as a safety. But he's one of those guys that I guess it's the way that football is going in the 21st century is you've got to have versatility on the back end, and Jamel Johnson certainly brings that.
Well, this is a guy that's going to be in that top 10 conversation for the class. And
wow.
So this is a really big pickup for Texas, early pickup in the class of 2023. Texas has had, always sustains recruiting success year in and year out, but this is a guy who tracks the ball really well, isn't afraid to come up and lay the hammer down and be a great tackler, but just seems to always be around the football. And nationally, I think that he'll be a big name. He runs well, he has good size, and really could have played for any program in the country. So for Steve Sarkisian to get this commitment, and you'll see on that clip that just came up, his closing speed is tremendous. So will safety be his best fit, or will he be, a bigger island cornerback who can lock down one-on-one receivers on the outside? I guess that'll all play itself out in the wash, but definitely a very talented guy who you probably don't want to test in the defensive secondary.
Yeah, a name to know there in Arlington Seguin safety Jamel Johnson, just a junior, so we'll be talking about him for probably an entire year from here on out. So enjoy us talking about you, Jamel. Hey. And finally, let's round it all out with our recruit of the week. Or our recruit of the week, and actually you've changed this to recruits of the week.
We're calling it the Cedar Hill trifecta.
We're talking about Cedar Hill cornerback Jalen Peoples, Cedar Hill defensive tackle Harvey Dyson, and Cedar Hill defensive tackle Sincere Massey, a trio of 3-star prospects who have all committed to Texas Tech. And I wonder why.
Is there something going on in Lubbock
that
we need to be made aware of?
I don't know. Yes. They have a new head coach, and their new head coach has a history with Cedar Hill.
He does?
Yes. It turns out this guy, Joe McGuire, turns out he used to be the head coach there.
Oh, so he has inroads.
Oh.
He has some inroads, and he has used those immediately, like hours
Like the
after his
day
opening
of.
press conference. He
landed
these 3 commitments from his old stomping grounds there and turned them horns loose country.
Jalen Peoples has been, a wire-to-wire DCTF Hot 100 guy. He really jumped onto my radar early on in his career whenever he had the tough job. I think it was one of the Green brothers that he mirrored in coverage this first opening game on varsity when they played Allen, and he had some really big plays in that game and hasn't really looked back since then. Really a finesse corner who can hang in a receiver's hip pocket and, has a chance to lock down anybody. So a good first commitment there at Texas Tech for Joey McGuire, but it wasn't but a few hours later that Harvey Dyson joined him on that commitment list. And Harvey's a guy who plays defensive end mostly in the Cedar Hill defensive front, but has the versatility to slide inside and do some different things. That flexibility is what I really like and what I think college has liked about his game. He's pretty athletic for a guy who weighs 260 pounds. And then they capped it all off with a commitment from some Sincere Massey, who was actually our prospect on the rise a few weeks back. Commitment to Arizona State. He decommitted from Arizona State so he could switch his commitment to Texas Tech. Picked up a recent offer from LSU, and at 6'5", 270 pounds, I think I dropped the name up. I think I dropped the name Cam Hayward, because he's a bigger defensive lineman who moves exceptionally well for somebody at that size. Back in the day, you didn't ever think about defensive tackles being 6'5", right? Defensive ends being 6'5", 300. Well, now today's game has, changed significantly, and he's one of those guys who could play that traditional defensive tackle role in a 3-4 or move inside in a 4-3. So.
Well, look, yesterday in his opening press conference, Joey McGuire said, we're going to play defense in Lubbock, and it was an applause line. Everyone was really excited. And here's a good start, right? A trio of guys that he's obviously pretty familiar with at a program that he's pretty familiar with. I guess I should use this as an opportunity to plug the fact that tomorrow we will have my one-on-one interview with Joey McGuire that we recorded this morning. I had a great conversation with him. We put a clip up on Twitter if you want to see a little bit of. But we sat down for about 15 minutes, talked about what he's going to bring to the program, what about leaving Baylor, about what he thinks of retaining a guy like Sonny Cumbie potentially, things like that. So we will have that exclusively here on Texas Football Today. Tomorrow, my interview with Joey McGuire, the new head coach of the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.